All aboard for St. Louis, the gateway to the West. Well, that's how that arch gets its name, after all. Remember Joe Buck on KMOX calling the placement of the last piece of stainless in that arch. That would be Jack Buck, Joe Buck's dad. Too many years of working with Joe Buck. This is FS1, and this is Cup Series practice at St. Louis.
That guy's ready.
Everybody's ready.
So's he.
First time at a brand new racetrack for 10 of these Cup drivers, and the first time here for the NASCAR Cup Series ever. And everywhere around this city, from the airport to downtown, out here across the river, everybody's talking racing and the big event that's going to happen here Sunday. So Michael Waltrip, Clint Boyer, you're at a brand new racetrack. It has two different ends, like, say, Darlington, has different bankings at each end, say, like Phoenix. How are you going to attack this place? Let's start in turn one.
Well, first and foremost, you're going to contain that, excitement. Everybody's excited. You're right. It's a big deal in St. Louis. It's a big deal that the Cup Series is finally here at this racetrack, the one that we've always been wanting to see. This racetrack is drastically different. 1 and 2 is very, very tight, long straightaway. So I got to get in that corner, get out here and use this practice to try to figure out how aggressive I can get into the corner and attack that 1 and 2. Mike, how about 3 and 4?
Well, Clint, you're up on the chip. You always are. You like to go for it. So I like you taking turns 1 and 2 because you got to barrel down into that corner with a lot of speed after you sweep off 3 and 4. You can see there's 102 feet of difference between the ends of the turns. So that means when you go down into 3, I'm more laid back. I'm just going to ease into turn 3, roll through the center, squeeze that gas down and get a good run off turn 4, but a lot of speed down into turn 1. And Mike, that is a difficult corner. I'm looking forward to seeing how these guys handle that challenge.
Well, now you're a couple of shifty characters. You're going to shift? And how many times?
Without a doubt, you're going to shift. And that's the more important question. How many times we're going to shift? We may see, we're talking about these drivers talking maybe possibly 2 shifts down to second or third gear, 4th and 5th up the back straightaway. It's going to be interesting. It's all going to go down right here in this practice session. And I can't wait.
All right. New track and some new faces. Here's Regan Smith.
Well, Mike, Clint and Michael are talking about all the drivers have to learn on this racetrack. Perhaps no driver has more to learn today than Zane Smith, getting ready to make his Cup Series debut this weekend, filling in for Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher, of course, out for COVID protocols this weekend. The team needed a driver. Enter Zane Smith, the Truck Series driver, three wins this year already for Zane. Talked to Brad Keselowski, one of the co-owners of Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. He said this was the natural choice because Zane has not only experience at this racetrack, but obviously how good he has been this year already. One more side note, Zane didn't get that call until about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Hurried up, got a seat fitted, and even had time to do a little bit of simulator testing this morning at 6 a.m. It's been a long day already for Zane.
Wow, sure has, and he's not the only new face. Ben Rhodes is here to run the Truck Series race, and he will be in this practice session for A.J. Allmendinger, who's on the West Coast today and tomorrow.
I know you've been here before, but give me a little refresher. Then the line is just about when you get straight here on pit road off 4. I can't remember what I did last week, let alone 12 years ago. I know. I had to go over it all myself.
Kevin Harvick, spotter Tim Fedewa. Now, Kevin is one of the drivers who's been here before. There are 10 drivers in this field who have not. Here are the drivers who have won in the Truck Series at St. Louis, beginning with Kevin Harvick.
See Justin Haley there, who's gone to victory lane, Ross Chastain.
And in the Xfinity Series, Harvick has doubled up Truex, Kyle Busch, and Keselowski.
If he couldn't remember what happened 12 years ago, he darn sure can't remember what happened 22 years ago, can he? When he went to victory lane in NASCAR for his very first win.
Well, 50-minute practice session. This is typical of going to a new track. We have a Friday practice. So tomorrow it'll just be qualifying for the Cup Series.
And they're, it's kind of a mixed bag of what they're doing. You see some guys practicing pit road already. But, man, I am very impressed with how these guys took to the racetrack, hammer down right off the bat, Mike.
Denny Hamlin, last week's winner, pulls out.
This is an interesting various plans to attack this practice session, Clint. Some of them going down pit road, like Mike pointed out, and some just right out on this racetrack and wide open down into turn 3 and the challenging turn 1.
Zane Smith in for Chris Buescher, who due to the COVID protocol will miss this week's race, but will be back for Sonoma. So here are the drivers who have not raced here in any type of car on this oval. Kyle Larson, Corey LaJoie, Chase Elliott, Parker Kligerman, Ty Dillon, Alex Bowman, Ware, Balicki, McLeod, and Daniel Suarez.
Yeah, I mean, it's so cool. I don't even know what a good lap time is here. You know, I'm looking at the board, and obviously Almirola jumping to the top. That's something that we haven't seen. I like that. The Fords are fast already.
That's a good looking Ford.
Really good looking.
Ryan Blaney in the 12. Dent Wizard.
Hopefully he won't need
Harrison Burton, the rookie, goes to the top.
And then Blaney replaces him, and another Ford to the top, Joey Logano.
2 rookies in the top 5. What's that tell you about this place?
Nobody knows, Mike.
Right.
Yeah, well, hey, we just heard them talk about Zane Smith being in a simulator. I'm wondering, does that mean that Ford simulator program simulation just fit this racetrack a little bit better than maybe the other manufacturers? That's a tool that all these teams use now. Might be something to that.
I thought it was really interesting last week at Charlotte. After qualifying, the Toyotas were there. After about 50 laps in the race, here come all the Chevys. It's really interesting how when the tires heat up and things change, the speeds seem to go away for some and not others.
If those elements change, you're right. It's almost like you can see one you manufacture go, oh no, and then the next one, here they come.
All right, now this can't be coincidence that the Penske cars are 1, 2, 3, led by the rookie Austin Cindric.
Again, it just takes me to your setups, right? Your simulation, how these teams find the grip, the speed in these cars. And that's today's day and age, all found on a computer. Here's that tight 1 and 2 we were talking about. You know, you're going to see them. And then as soon as I want to hear an in-car, we'll get one here soon where you can hear these guys starting to shift. They'll be figuring that out, whether it'll be 1 shift or 2.
Let's ride with Logano since he tops the leaderboard after 5 laps.
There's a downshift. Saw that already. Coming around 3 and 4, so we know they're going to shift in 3 and 4 as well.
Good pace here. Keep it up.
Keep it up. Making a
Watch
bit of
this. Watch the braking. Hard braking. 1 downshift. 2 downshifts. Really winding that thing up. You can hear it up on the RPMs, high revs.
35.
Shifting back up through. So 2 shifts in 1 and 2, like we were thinking, like we heard these drivers talk about, and 1 and 3 and 4.
There'll be 1 down here. Here's the more laid back of the 2 ends. You could see the one I talked about, just creeping around the bottom of the racetrack, wanting to have your car as low as you can get it. And then here we go down the front, pull her back another gear.
And the Penske affiliate Wood Brothers car, Harrison Burton, is now fastest. Ford's in the top 5 spots. Here's Ricky Stenhouse.
See the helmet cam. Track's pretty smooth.
Now I heard his crew chief Brian Patty.
Target time with our number of laps. No, sir.
Brian Patty on the radio this week. He said this track's going to be a lot like Phoenix, going to be a lot like Richmond. We're not bringing either setup because we were awful at both tracks. We're going to bring something completely different for here.
Maybe they ought to try their Martinsville setup. We've heard that one as well.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when you're previewing this week on our call, we were trying to figure out, you know, what does this track most resemble? And it really is just kind of a mix between a Phoenix, kind of, in my opinion, where that tight, 1 and 2 here. Now it's 3 and 4 at Phoenix, and a wide sweeping 3 and 4. But these long straightaways, really, when you look at an overview of this track, just basically resembles a Martinsville paperclip.
Harrison Burton quickest, 33.29. That's 135 miles an hour on his 4th of 7 laps.
Good to see Harrison capitalizing.
Yeah.
That's hot rod this weekend.
Career best 11th place finish last week at Charlotte, and then he comes here, and you think momentum isn't important, being able to jump out there and be the fastest in the session.
Well, here's another comparison. Darlington. Penske as a team, including the Wood Brothers, have just 1 top 10 in the last 5 races. Logano's Darlington win. Now this track, the shape is a lot like Darlington, and for similar reasons. They had to lay the track out to accommodate the shape and size of the property. So you end up with different corners at each end. No minnow pond.
Yeah.
Different.
The banking is drastically different, but if you fly over this place and think of Darlington, you can see it, like you said, Mike, the shape. Exactly.
But I think that's why the challenge has always been there at this track. You know, racing Xfinity here, watching truck races and everything else, it's a hard place to get around because of all those differences. No perfect setup, no perfect driving line.
That makes me kind of hungry.
Kyle Larson just jumped into the top 5. First Chevy to do so. Let's have a look at Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, it's, you know, you see these cars are out here on the racetrack. Now, how do you make a pass? You make a dive bomb getting into the corner, outbrake them. And that's where I'm going to call this turns 1 and 2 the action corner. I think most of the action this track is going to happen right down there.
On entry.
Yeah.
You're going to diving hard in there.
And hope you don't lock up the brakes and get into them and cause havoc, because then we're going to talk about it.
Fords at the top of the board. Burton, Logano, Almirola. Left rear tires have been one of the big stories of the season. They've just jacked up William Byron's car, which was sitting down on the rim. You see the sidewall of the tire torn up there. Alex Bowman also with a left rear down.
Teammate.
Limps it back in. And another Hendrick car, Kyle Larson, just came and rolled down pit road to check things out and make sure that his tire was up. Now, here's a look at Joey Logano's tire before the cars went on track.
Yeah, this tire's fine, right, Clint? But the result of this tire having that little of air pressure, and also it's a combination of things, how the camber in the rear tires is set. These guys have a lot stacked up on that left rear.
And the straightaway, too.
Going away.
Yeah, that's the thing. Goodyear recommends do not go under 14 PSI. I think we can safely say that left rear we just saw was definitely under 14 PSI. But Michael, to your point, they mandate how much the maximum camber you can have. And on the left rear, it's positive 5 degrees. You can't have more. That means the tire is leaned out at the top on the left rear. And that's just when it loads in the corner, it gets that full tread, that full contact patch on the racetrack for maximum grip.
And Clint said it, Larry, these straightaways are very long. And so that's just burning up that left rear tire.
Turn 4. One car, and it is the 16 that just jumped down to the inside. Ben Rhodes was up in turns 3 and 4. He did make it to pit road, but he has brought the caution out.
Oh, was that another tire?
I think that was a tire. He was way loose long before he got in the corner. Obviously hard contact to the outside wall, but I think the tire was down before he got in.
Something wasn't right with that entry.
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, with those straightaways being as long as they are, you know, we're talking about that, Mike. It's just a lot of load on that left rear tire. Going through the corner, you utilize all that camber, just like Larry was saying. Those tires will actually, because of the scrub in the sides, it's putting the tire flat on the ground. Going down the straightaway, you're leaning on that outside edge of that tire a lot.
And it's, excuse me, Mike, this isn't anything against Goodyear. The teams are taking every advantage they can of that left rear camber and those low air pressures.
Regan?
Well, Mike, something else these teams have to look at today. Typically on a practice day, you would hear a lot of crew chiefs talking to their drivers about what other drivers are doing in the race cars. As we mentioned, where they're shifting, where they're on the throttle, where they're off the throttle. Unfortunately, that data is not available to the teams today. So you'll see the drivers, many of them don't have the computers that they normally would inside the race car. Because that data is not available, all they will be able to see is what is downloaded from their cars or their teammate cars. No live real-time streaming data, so something a little bit more challenging, maybe a little old school. Clint, Michael, I know that if I had that data available, I would love to look at that during this practice.
Absolutely, but I wonder why they don't have that. Definitely old school.
Well, maybe that's why Kyle Busch went into a very lengthy explanation of what's going on with his number 18.
On the brakes, brake shake, left front brake shake, getting into the turn. To fire off, it was kind of free. After about 4 or 5 there, it was just tight. Tight landing center was the whole time, and it was building tight off as well. When it was tight in the middle of the corner, I missed the entry. I got brake pulse already. Tight center, has front tire chatter in the center. And then when that's gone, I go. And in 3 and 4, I'm building speed to the exit, and then it shatters the front tire is huge. Again, lead on exit.
Car's tight.
I like that, breaking it down to that extent, though, man. That's great information from a guy, a champion like Kyle Busch.
Tires are the story yet again here in St. Louis. King Richard Petty has been involved all week long here. Now look at that Buick Regal. Look at those big fender flares out there. Okay, maybe it doesn't have that nose down scraping the ground the way Ray Smith and his engineers would like. I believe that one's might be street legal.
The only thing I saw is that big cowboy hat behind the steering wheel. I think that was the King driving that guy around in his car.
Now this looks a little more authentic, like it should be on the racetrack right now.
Yeah, I love that car, and just brings back such great memories of that 3-car racing around all over.
That was my favorite body style.
Mine too.
Monte Carlo Aero Coupe.
So cool.
Yeah. Harrison Burton fastest. Cole Custer on track right now, 26th overall.
Cole's got a win here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I said Cole's got a win here. He won the truck race a few years back. That team's getting better and better.
Absolutely. Coming on as of late for sure. Finding some speed, getting some confidence behind the wheel.
Watch that nose as they go into turn 1. They talked to a couple of drivers. They said they put more brake pressure into turn 1 here than any other track on the circuit. And I said, are you sure, including Martinsville? And they said, yes, the data tells us we're harder on them into 1 here at St. Louis because of all that speed down that long French straightaway.
Corey LaJoie, 23rd quickest. First half of this session, there's the telemetry to show you just that. Boy, what a tough week he had in Charlotte. Wrecked one in practice, and then early in the race, a toe link broke, sending him spinning and into the wall, ending his race early. He said that one hurt at least as much as the first one did.
Watch how much speed is created down the front straightaway, and then how fast you have to slow down. Oh, a lot of brake. 160 pretty much to 99 mile an hour. So, you know, 60 mile an hour difference. You're hard on the binders for sure.
And then you can see the difference we talked about earlier. The sweeping turn 3 and 4, still upwards of 162 miles an hour, but he just doesn't roll it down as much down there. And that's why this race is going to be so much fun to watch, guys. Just seeing who's able to balance that the most and the best.
Now, Christopher Bell has made it into the final round of qualifying more than any other driver this year. But here, he is still searching for speed. He's 28th.
Now, that's got to be a bit of a head scratcher for that team. As much speed as you have seen out of them all year in qualifying.
And it's his teammate, too. Kyle Busch is out there, and we heard his comments, you know, fighting a tight race car. Those Gibbs cars have been the heat the last few weeks. Texas, Kansas, and here, or in Charlotte last week in the 600, and definitely struggling to find the speed on these short tracks.
You know, guys, I'm watching the brake pressure on the SMT data, and a lot more brake getting into turn 1 than turn 3, but I'm seeing brake pressure right now that we have not seen all year long. The only time we've seen brake pressure this high is maybe when a car was in trouble about to get into a wreck or something.
Well, you certainly heard Kyle Busch talk about his brake shake already. I think that's something that's, you know, we're 15 laps in to a practice session. You get 150, 200 laps in, it's going to be a challenge for sure.
Bubba Wallace, flat left rear.
Yeah, there's only one Toyota Mike in the top 10. That is Kyle Busch. Bubba was inside the top 15, and he's lost a left rear now.
This happened down in 1 and 2 to Bubba.
I think it obviously went down getting in before he got in the corner. Gave him some sort of a inclination that he had trouble. Man, that's luck.
Well, when I look at William Byron, I look at Alex Bowman, now Bubba Wallace, the trend seems to be somewhere around 9 to 10 laps, maybe 11 laps that we're seeing. And this looks like a whole lot bigger issue than a left rear tire.
That's for sure.
Get it to a fire extinguisher.
Now, he came in
We might be on fire.
right at the exit of turn 4 instead of the standard entrance to the garage halfway down the front straightaway. He's looking for
Definitely
help
on fire
and not finding any way up at that end of the garage.
It's coming out of the exhaust.
So this is the 15 for Rick Ware Racing, and didn't they have a similar issue a couple of weeks ago?
Dang it, you're gonna have to get that fire out. Obviously Parker getting out of the car first and foremost, but they're needing to get that fire out so they can save that car and have it back ready. If it's coming out of them tailpipes I got, Mike, it's I'd say the engine expired.
Well, it's also coming out of that right front wheel well.
Got a lot.
That's
going
just
on
a little
there.
bit of unburned gas out the tailpipe, but that's a mess under the hood.
Parker's trying to
Here
get
we
over
go.
there to get it put out.
Now, give these fellas credit. They had to run about 300 or 400 yards from the main garage area where the fire extinguishers are, because cars are not expected to come into the garage way up at that end.
Yeah, that's the Goodyear area where they mount the tires for the teams, and that's just not a place that a car would normally be. Caught them off guard. This has been an eventful practice session, hasn't it?
Very much so. I think more so than anybody asked for.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't shock me. When you come to a new track like this and there's so many unknowns, you know, you try to hone in on what you think is going to happen, you know, as an engineer, a crew chief, and even a driver. But obviously, this is never something you can expect.
It was already hot here. Wow, Stan the Man Musial, Bullet Bob Gibson, the Cardinals, the Rams, the Blues. What a sports town, St. Louis. And every track we go to, Kenny Wallace would have some kind of St. Louis sports shirt on, you know, representing.
Beautiful
Hometown
art.
pride.
There we go. All right, Regan, what happened?
Well, Mike, standing outside of the car with Parker Klingerman, getting ready to make your first Cup start of the year. Number one, what happened? Number two, how intense did that get inside of the race car?
Well, it's my first time in the next gen, so thanks to Rick Ware Racing for giving me the opportunity, and was really looking forward to it. I felt like those first couple laps were pretty good. We were way closer than I thought we'd be, and you know, if come in, I need to reset the wheel. Excuse me, I got a bunch of that dust. And sort of just, you know, collect my thoughts a little bit, talk about what I just learned driving with these for the first time. And then as I was coming in, suddenly smoke started billowing out. And it was funny because Bubba Wallace was in front of me with the left rear down smoking. So I didn't know if it was his smoke or my smoke. And then so I was like, oh no, this is us. So there was some fire coming out of the engine bay. I'm not sure what it was yet. But yeah, I thought we were pretty competitive to start. And I was looking forward to, you know, getting in there and going a little quicker. And felt like these guys, Kevin, everyone at Rick Ware Racing put together a really competitive car. And hopefully, well, we got a day and a half. Maybe we can figure out what was wrong, go to work, and be back for the race.
Thanks, Parker.
Well, that is a benefit of this being a 3-day and not a 2-day show like most all the rest of the Cup schedule this year.
Isn't it fun seeing all the kids, families here in St. Louis? I mean, you talked about the sports town. What a destination this racetrack is this weekend. So much buzz around town about the Cup guys being here in St. Louis.
And it's not only in just this town. I'm talking anywhere in the Midwest. I've spent all week out here around Missouri and things, and you know, in Kansas even, and everybody is talking about this race this weekend.
There's Chase Briscoe.
Yep, Chase Briscoe.
Up off turn 4, run down that long front straightaway. Clint, I'm curious if you think, we haven't seen anybody lose a tire and wreck. Do you think it's because the straightaways are so long that you've talked about? Well, that we don't really know what happened exactly to the 16 car earlier when Ben Rhodes went into the outside wall. But most of the flats have just been that.
I just think it's lucky. Obviously, they're coming from the straightaway, the pressure. You can see, look at the squat on that left rear tire, asking a lot out of that, right? You can see the squat, it gets in the corner and it goes away. All that pressure and force is on the straightaway. So yes, I think that's where it's happening, and that's because of that they get lucky, right?
Now, here's one reason why this race is so big in St. Louis this week. This Bommarito Auto Group, one of the biggest chains of car dealers in all of Missouri, they've had Richard Petty out here all week making appearances. All month long, if you got an oil change at any one of their dealerships, you got free race tickets for Saturday. I mean, this is what we need. Promotion at the retail level to take somebody with a casual interest in racing and give them a chance to come to the track and be a fan. Well done.
Well, that's what the sport's founded on. The activation around these race cars is just so much more than cars going around a racetrack. It brings everybody together, utilizing the marketing power, the engine, if you will, of NASCAR. And it's on full display with that right there. And by the way, a great weekend. Eric Jones has done a phenomenal job in the 43. They have been really strong the last month and a half. And I think they're going to have a lot of fun here this weekend as well.
And he's jumped up to the 6th position right here in this practice session. So we've got some speed right now, Larry. What are you seeing?
Well, I think what's going on, Michael, they had 3 sets of tires for this practice, and I think we might be seeing some sticker tires with about 20 minutes to go. But I talked to a lot of crew chiefs this week, and they said this is the first time we've had practice this year outside of Daytona and Atlanta a full 50 minutes. We're going with maybe 2 different packages to try, and the only way you can really evaluate that is 2 different sets of sticker tires.
Well, I think that's exactly why you're seeing new faces and new names at the top of the board. Tyler Reddick, the RCR guys, flexing some muscle going to the top of the 3310. Business is picking up for sure. Lap times are picking up.
Yeah, here comes some Chevys. Chase Briscoe as well, but Chase Elliott also into the top 10. He's 7th right now.
How about Ross Chastain, 2nd in the point standings right now? What a season he has had.
Be honest, did you see that one coming there, Clint?
My bracket was busted under one car. No chance. I mean, hey, you know the vision was there. You know the thought was there because of this race car. When they designed this race car, it was to give teams an equal opportunity. And man, I don't think it can be any better displayed than what Trackhouse has done so far this year.
He's won a truck race here, 2019.
Yeah.
That car right there, it's went from it may have been just a deal this weekend. Let's see about next weekend. Well, I'm out of next weekends, and I'm talking about the playoffs already, and I think he's going to go rounds in the playoffs as well.
Every time a race starts and they run 10 or 15 laps, here comes the one. You know he's on his way to the front. The same thing with his teammate, right. Daniel Suarez. Just a lot of speed in those 2 cars, and it's been fun to watch.
Chase Elliott 8th on the board after 17 laps. And he just came out on this run on his 15th lap of the day, and it is his quickest.
Went a little high there in 1 and 2, Mike. I don't know if got in a little hot, missed the line a little bit.
Blaney top of the board, 33.04. His former crew chief Todd Gordon said this morning, Blaney can find speed with a lot of different attitudes. A little loose, a little tight. He's fast. Ryan Blaney top of the board, 136.1 miles per hour. Tyler Reddick, Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, Chase Briscoe. 3 Fords, 2 Chevys in the Fast 5. The first Toyota is this one. Kurt Busch in 12th overall.
Here him with that lower gear off the corner. Shift once. Another shift. This is interesting too for me, Clint. Where do they go for the groove? We've talked about the braking and the difference in the ends, but can they slide up the hill and run higher in turns 1 and 2? We haven't seen a whole lot of that yet, but NASCAR and the track has worked together, and they've done the tire dragging on the higher groove, working that groove in. I wonder how soon we'll see somebody up there.
Well, as we're seeing these guys going out on their 2nd set of tires, you're going to see them right down the bottom of the racetrack. But as those tires wear out, as hot as it is, I can't help but to think that they'll be sliding up, diming the corners a little bit, probably on both ends to get that good drive up off.
Wait a minute. Did I just hear Kurt Busch in 2nd gear in turns 1 and 2? I think he shifted 3 times in that straightaway.
Well, I think if they're shifting twice, by themselves on a restart or anything else, you'll definitely be down that 2nd gear. Well, we're going to watch.
And we're going to listen.
Nah.
3rd gear that time.
You're seeing things.
Mike, it's really interesting, too. I talked to Kurt earlier this week about this racetrack, and he said, Mike, I don't know if I'm just getting old or I'm cranky, but that's a lot of work shifting them gears all that time all day long. I like it. As watching it as a guy that's been running around ovals his whole life, I mean, that just adds a whole other element to it.
You'll have to be careful on those downshifts. Very important. You can over-rev an engine on a downshift far easier than you can like back in the old days when you'd miss a shift and going up. On a down, as you're downshifting, you use the weight of that car that'll actually push through a rev limiter and blow the thing up.
Another guy that's got a win here, Brad Keselowski in the Xfinity Series. I think it was 2010. Victory lane.
I think he was the last driver to win here in Xfinity that's in this race.
You know what he really needs now?
A win.
A win.
In a big way. He's going to need a win to get in the playoffs, I'm afraid.
Now, Denny Hamlin came back out, as we mentioned, and he jumped from 22nd to 17th He is the 3rd fastest Toyota, so gain of 5 spots on the board. But still some work to do. He lacks about half a second of the fastest. You know, we talked about Phoenix at the top of the show. The first 4 drivers to finish Phoenix are all in the Fast 5 right now. Now there's a stable of race cars. The playoff picture is getting clearer. Win and you're in. That's the way it's always been since the start of playoff racing. But here are 11 winners. 3 of them have been to victory lane twice. Here are last year's winners who have yet to win this year. 7 of them, only 16 spots. That would take us to 18. And oh, by the way, here are drivers with multiple top 5s yet to win. We could have way too many winners.
I think it's just too cloudy to be able to tell what's going to happen. I think we could have more than 16 winners. I mean,
no.
Yes.
That one's gone. That one's gone, Mike. But I'm telling you, that bubble picture for this playoffs is heating up in a big way. It's going to come down to the wire for a lot of those guys, including him right there, Austin Dillon, and his teammate Tyler Reddick.
I'll take 17 winners if you want.
Not going to happen. 16.
It's going to happen.
I think 1, maybe 2 drivers get in on points, but otherwise it's all winners.
Winners, winners, winners.
Will Michael McDowell be one of them?
5 top 10 finishes for that car this year.
He's had a great year, really has.
Yeah.
Quietly, obviously, but putting in some solid finishes for sure.
I would not be surprised either to see this car win, Clint.
Man,
Bubba Wallace has shown a lot of speed last week at Charlotte. He's been good everywhere.
when those Toyotas picked up in Kansas, Texas at the All-Star race, and then in Charlotte, you didn't have to look any further than that 2311 camp. They picked up in a big way.
Now they've changed something because that lap was his fastest of the day.
Tires, the almighty tires. You can see those wheels are really shiny too, no brake dust in them.
Eric Jones has just completed 16 laps, coming back on track. Toward the end of his last run was his fastest, his 14th lap of the day.
Look how high up the track he's gone as well. That's that new lane that we think's going to develop and create some great side-by-side racing.
Well, I think there's 2 things going on there. Your inertia, right? You get into the corner and the car slides up. I think you're wanting to diamond the corner so you can get the car rotated and make that straightaway as long as possible, get drive off a corner. And I think at 2, that tire dragging that you were talking about, you're going to see these guys get up there in that clean rubber from the tire dragging and find some grip.
What is it about this car that makes me see Kenny Schrader or Ernie Irvan?
Well, it's just going back in the day. We talk about all the energy and excitement around this event. I think your mind is slipping back to the 90s thinking, wow, there's a lot going on here. Man, that's a beautiful Snickers car.
My mind does that a lot, as you know.
We were under break, and you were telling us about a Winston Waste race where Schrader, I just heard that name. Did he really blow the fire extinguisher to you to keep you from passing him at a race?
He tried to pull something like that. Yes, he also was on fire at one point as well.
That is legendary.
All right, back to Chase Briscoe, who is currently 6th, Larry.
Yeah, I've been watching this 14 car, and all week long, every driver I've spoke with, but more than anything, every crew chief I spoke with, I said, what is relative to St. Louis? And they said, no question, Phoenix. And I find it interesting, Chase Briscoe, who's 6 right now, he won at Phoenix, but Reddick, Chastain, and Briscoe, they're all right there in the top 6. And remember the battle those 3 drivers had in the closing laps at Phoenix. So I definitely think this place is very relative to Phoenix. In fact, Goodyear runs the same tire combination at Phoenix and at St. Louis.
Wouldn't surprise me to see those 3 up front battling for the win here Sunday.
Call me crazy, but anywhere where we've had shifting in the process, you know, to find success, for whatever reason, Briscoe has been the heat.
Started at the Coliseum in the Clash.
I think it's just his aggression. You know, he wants to jam. He wants to get after it. He's very, very aggressive race car driver, and that's just another tool to be able to pick up your pace with. I mean, how many times would you wish you were down in the corner and could grab another gear to get up off the corner?
Well, I know he had a lot of, with Ford, you know, when he got with Ford, he had a lot of road course racing in his, you know, upbringing and when he was honing his skills. So I don't know if that plays a role in it or not, how he's driving, how it works, but that is an observation that I've seen, and I think it's real.
Kevin Harvick just ran his fastest lap of the day. He is 12th on the board. And he just bettered at that lap.
Hasn't had the speed, but just experience, age, and wisdom grinds it out and gets that finish at the end.
Look how hard he's working that wheel too up off the corner. He's got more steering input than any other driver in the field.
And always has.
Yeah.
He always has moved that wheel more than any teammate that I ever had. You see pretty tight right there, wheel lock, but as soon as it is, he just always has sawed on the wheel a lot harder. Looks like a heartbeat compared to everybody else.
Penske cars 1, 2, 3. Kenny Wallace was telling us when his older brother Rusty raced for Roger Penske, this was not a cup track, so that team came here and tested all the time. 5 minutes to go in practice. Martin Truex, one of those drivers with work to do. His car is just not in the racetrack. Now, driving lines. Here is Kyle Larson's spotter, Tyler Munn, talking about what Joey Logano's doing.
The 22 holds a pretty wide arc and really never gets to the bottom through 1 and 2. He kind of stays up maybe a lane off the curb pretty much all the way through the corner. And out of 4, he shifts way sooner than anybody else. Like he's shifting almost at the end of the Geico restart zone. Everybody else is 10 car lengths before start finish line.
That's great information for the driver. The spotter can just see all that. You know, you go out on the track, Mike, if you've been down low, you might want to commit to that. He's told to move around a little bit like Logano. And why? It's because Joey Logano is by far the fastest car in the long run.
Well, I can tell you this. The number one thing that I heard him say is he's arcing it out more, getting into 1. That tells me he's making a lot of, the lap time tells me he's making grip. Where is he making grip? It enables him to make that big arc in. If you don't make that grip and your car's nervous, it's loose getting into the corner, you can't arc it in. And if you can't get it arced into the corner, you're not going to get off the corner.
Now that right there will get your attention, Mike. As a racer, you look at that right there and know that that 22 is pretty special.
Yeah, bottom left, your best 15 consecutive lap average.
By quite a bit, too.
Yeah, 2/10 is an eternity in this world.
Yep, Stenhouse in the picture there, third.
There it is.
Looks pretty fast. Pretty racy this weekend.
And
all them Penske cars.
With 3 minutes to go, I'd say they're not going back out.
I'd say you're right.
Woo, Mikey. What a Tootsie's night.
I love it.
Man, we need one.
That car makes me happy.
It makes me hurt.
Hey, guys, do you think it's interesting that we've solved the left rear flat mystery as we've gone through this practice session?
Well, there's enough hot air in this booth to solve it.
Well, they added a little air.
Put some in those tires.
Right.
A little air in those tires and maybe knocked the little camber out. Who knows? But, you know, I said at the beginning, it's not a Goodyear issue. Right. The teams have to be aggressive, and that's how you win. You just get aggressive and you hit on something, you take advantage of it, but they were hitting on something that wasn't there.
You know, with the shifting, and you heard the comments, you know, about the 22, he was shifting earlier in 4. That's something that everybody does a little bit different, especially on a downshift. You heard Kevin Harvick downshift right there. Wow, you know, really downshift, but it didn't over rev. That tells me he probably shifted pretty late into the corner. Other guys use that downshift pretty early to help slow the car down, you know, because that is a huge aid on a track like this. Use those downshifts to help slow you down. It's almost like he was gonna come in there and then decided to go back out.
Now, pit road, you roll all around this access road down at the bottom, and the same for getting into the pit. And you make as much time as you can because pit road speed is only in effect yellow line to yellow line down the front straightaway.
And I think we've seen more drivers practice pit road here than we have all season long because of those two things. Especially in 3 and 4, long ways around there before you have to pick up pit road. From the commitment line to the pit road speed line is a long ways, and a lot of speed to be lost there or gained there.
And this is a narrow pit road too. Getting in and out of here is going to be a challenge for these teams.
Yeah, you think these guys had trouble? They had trouble at Charlotte last weekend. I'm telling you, going to be a lot of trouble, chaos on pit road this weekend.
And I think it's really interesting, Clint, how you exit and enter the pit road. These race car drivers are egomaniacs at times. They want to be the best at everything. That's why they're champions. That's why they're winners. And those times are clocked by their engineers. drivers. They know how long it takes them to get in and off the pit road, how long their pit crew took to make that stop. They want to make sure they win that race just like they win any race.
Mike, you can't ever say they're egomaniacs because I feel like we're drivers. We're not egomaniacs, are we?
We were one of them too.
We are.
We were a little. Maybe I should say they're really full of themselves at times.
Hey guys, real quick, you was wondering why the 22 went out there with such little bit of time. They threw a set of stickers on that car, made a little mock qualifying run, because that's the next thing Joey will encounter, qualifying in the morning fastest at a 32.90.
Well, that's fun. We don't see that anymore.
136.7 miles per hour to end this session. Joey Logano top of the board right there, 1 lap on stickers. In fact, Joey leads all categories except best consecutive 20 laps because he didn't run a consecutive 20 laps, but he had the fastest 10, the fastest 15. Kevin Harvick had the most laps run. So other than this being a mostly Phoenix-like racetrack with essence of Richmond and Darlington, what did we learn?
Can we throw in a little Loudon too? Just
sure, let's go.
Why not? I learned exactly what I thought I was going to see. Cars really challenging the entry, especially into one. And then what I loved, moving up the hill, getting that second groove worked in. I thought it was a fun session. We got rid of the tire problems. We're going to see a great race on Sunday.
You said it, tire problems. Everybody's trying to figure it out. How much camber can we get away with? How much, little air pressure can we get away with? We've learned all of that. Downshifting. Not once, but twice down in 1 and 2, once down in 3 and 4. These drivers got their hands full, and I think it's going to be a great weekend.
That's Richard Petty at Darlington. What do you think of these guys shifting in the corner? He just gave me the strangest look. They didn't do that in his day. Joey Logano won everything. Ryan Blaney second, Austin Cindric third. That is a Team Penske sweep of the top 3. Kurt Busch is the fastest Toyota. Eric Jones for Richard Petty is the fastest Chevrolet. This will do it for practice. Next up for the Cup cars will be qualifying tomorrow, and then the race on Sunday from Worldwide Technologies Raceway, formerly Gateway.
They're all chasing him.
Oh, yeah. Right now, I'd say it's good to be Joey Logano.
Oh, man, he's had a great practice session. Getting ready to roll those trucks out. Have a little bit of practice here for the truckers.
That's next on FS1, practice and qualifying for the trucks from St. Louis, then Race Hub, then qualifying from Portland, Oregon for the Xfinity Series. We're bi-coastal this weekend. So Joey Logano wins practice. Figure out who's going to qualify on top tomorrow.